Okay, Shavua Tov and good morning, everyone. We are continuing here in Tehillim. As we mentioned the last time, we hit the halfway point of Tehillim. We're on 75. 6 more years to go, Be'ez Hashem. And we should be Messiah and we'll finish all of Sefer Tehillim.
And then we're going to have a siyum maybe.
Yeah, we hope that Mashiach will be here before we finish all of Sefer Tehillim together. Be'ez Hashem. I would like to try to use this Tehillim, especially it's just a few days before Rosh Hashana. I would like to try to use the messages that are in this Tehillim to hopefully give us something to think about for the up and coming Yom Tov of Rosh Hashana. A lot of the messages are very pertinent, and Be'ez Hashem, with Hashem's help, we'll see. So, just as we usually do, we have an introduction, Rabbi Foyer, and Rabbi Foyer points out over here, as we're going to see from the very beginning, and that is that the preceding Tehillim that we had, number 74, it ended off with these ominous words that we realize that there are going to be enemies that rise up against us. There's nothing that Klal Yisrael can do about that. That is going to happen. However, what Asaf asks for in this one is, Al Tashches, whatever you do, Al Kodesh Baruch Hu, whatever troubles befall us, whatever nations rise up against us, whatever they try to do, Al Tashches, do not destroy us. That's what we ask for. We're going to have to endure suffering. We'll have to endure certain periods in history which are not going to be very pretty. The only thing we ask is, don't let us be destroyed. And he writes over here that as we get closer to the end of the Galus, the end of the exile, which is bringing us to the ultimate Geula, which we call the Ikvus of the Mashiach, which are the footsteps of Mashiach coming. So you have to know that the anguish that Klal Yisrael is going to go through will intensify. And we've described this before from the words of the Vilna Gaon. The Vilna Gaon says that if you look at the language of Chazal, when they speak about the time before Mashiach comes, it's called Chevle HaMashiach. Chevle means the birth pangs of Mashiach. That means that the world, so to speak, and everything that is going through is birthing Mashiach. It's giving birth to Mashiach coming into this world. The Vilna Gaon points out that everyone knows, and anyone that is a mother understands, that labor is not a pleasant experience. If you were in the olden days before the, what do you call it, the epidural was the most common thing to do, when women would go through labor, or you're a naturalist, and so you went through natural labor, so everybody knows that labor is not enjoyable. But as unenjoyable as labor is, you all know that the most painful part of labor is right before the baby comes into this world. The final pushes that a woman must do to bring a child into this world is the most painful, excruciating part that a woman will ever do. And as my wife would tell me after every baby, you'll never understand what it means to be a woman.
Yeah, that is true.
Says the Vilna Gaon, so too is the way in which HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to bring Mashiach into this world. And that means that it's a labor. It's a process. And we've been in labor for thousands of years. And it's a long labor. And it's a drawn-out labor. And there are times when the contractions are coming one after the other, and it is painful. But nothing will be equal to the ultimate pain that Klal Yisrael is going to go through right before Mashiach is going to come. Chevle HaMashiach, the birth pangs of Mashiach, means at that moment, before the Mashiach is going to come, that's when the contraction is going to start speeding up. That's when the pain is going to be excruciating, and that's when the screams and the yelling of the Jewish people is going to be at its highest level. And at that moment, when we think that we can't take any more, that's when the baby is going to come into this world. I remember that when my wife was giving birth to one of our children, she wanted to go completely natural on that labor. And God bless her, she did. And at the very end, she started losing faith in herself that she could do it. And she started telling the doctor, just give me an epidural now. He said, it's too late. She said, I can't take it. She said, I've seen thousands of births. Trust me. He says, my wife, trust me. You're going to make it and you're doing great. You're going to be fine. And the next thing you know, we had a baby boy. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu is saying over here the same thing. It's not going to be pretty, and it's going to be painful, and there will be things that are going on in Klal Yisrael's history as at those monumental moments where the birth pangs are speeding up and getting very hard and harsh. But you should know that means that the exile is coming close to being at the end, and the Geula, the redemption, is coming, and that is going to be the birthing of Mashiach. And he says, at that time, at the end of the road, at the end of the labor, the calamities that will befall Klal Yisrael will be in rapid succession. It's going to come one after the other, after the other. I think we don't have to be. We don't even have to be Kabbalistic to see in the world this past year. There are things that are just happening one after the other to Klal Yisrael. Whether it's from Simchas Torah on October 7th, whether it is the war that is going on, the hundreds of deaths of soldiers, whether it is the hatred that we are encountering from all of the entire world, and Klal Yisrael cannot get out of the news. There's 9 billion people in the world. At best, there are 16 million Jews. At best. That's 0.0000001% of the world. And the entire world cannot stop talking about Klal Yisrael. Not by the RNC, not by the DNC, not by the news, not by the wherever you go, in the papers, on the news, wherever you are. Klal Yisrael is in the center of the entire universe right now. On one hand, it's very stressful and threatening for the Jewish people. On the other hand, it's a sign that Mashiach is coming there. And he writes that the world will be engulfed in the colossal conflict of Gog and Magog, which maybe one day we'll have to see more details what exactly it is, the final battle in the world before Mashiach will come. And it will scar the face of the earth. It's not going to be pretty. Now, there is a chazal that says, I believe, that the war of Gog and Magog will take no less than 3 seconds. But in that 3 seconds of whatever that's going to mean, it's going to leave a scar on the entire universe. Trampled and terrified, Klal Yisrael will turn to Hashem in fervent prayer. Meaning, once we get to that place where we realize that there is no other place to turn besides Hashem, so we're going to daven to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and that's what it says in this tefillah, Al tashches, whatever you do, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, don't destroy Klal Yisrael. The whole purpose of the world is Bishvil Yisrael, for Klal Yisrael, is for the Torah, is for us. It gets scary, it gets difficult, it gets dark, we don't know what's going on. We're begging you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, do not destroy us. And then he writes, at that moment, Hashem's going to respond with the assurance that salvation is imminent. It might not come like that, but Hashem is going to promise Klal Yisrael that there will be a Yeshua, there will be a salvation, and it's around the corner, it's coming. He's just waiting for the right time. Everything in life is timing, and it's not an hour time schedule. We don't dictate the timing. It's on HaKadosh Baruch Hu's timetable and his schedule. And at the time that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to bring it, then we will know that itself is going to be exactly the right time that Mashiach is supposed to come. So therefore we have to keep our faith, and we have to keep our hope in Hashem, and we have to have our emunah strong that all of this has a rhyme and a reason. Everything that's going on is just speeding up the process and speeding up the contraction, getting us closer and closer and closer to Mashiach coming. And Be'ez Hashem, at that Mayed, as we'll see in this Tehillim, at that right time, that convocation that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to make, then the birthing of Mashiach will be here, and all of the terrible things that we went through throughout all of the years, it will be gone, it will disappear, and we'll be back once again with Hashem. So that's the way that he begins the introduction of this Tehillim. Let's see a little bit in the Mefarshim, and we're going to go back to the simple understanding, which is Rashi. Rashi, in his greatness, he was Mefarish almost every aspect of Torah. Gemara we know, Chumash we know. He also has a running commentary on Tanakh, and Tehillim is part of Tanakh, and so Rashi speaks over here as well. And we'll start off our exploration of this Tehillim with Rashi. Rashi says, on the beginning pasuk, the pasuk says, Lamasech al tashches mizmor la'asav shir. It says in the pasuk over here, a sound of victory. Al tashches, do not destroy. Mizmor, a song. La'asav shir, it's a singing out, music to the Rebbeinu Shalom. So I guess before we get to Rashi, we have to see one more. Rav Gamliel Rabinovich writes over here, what's going on over here? Klal Yisrael is begging Hashem that He should not destroy them. Why? They're bringing in shir, they're bringing in song, they're bringing in music. But we're pleading for our lives. We're begging HaKadosh Baruch Hu that as bad as it looks, and as much as the enemies are rising against us, so we're davening, please HaKadosh Baruch Hu, don't destroy Klal Yisrael completely, do not obliterate us from this world. So why is Asaf writing over here in the beginning of this Tehillim over here, Mizmor la'asaf shir, a mizmor, like a song, la'asaf shir, a song, music and a song to, what's the music all about? What's the singing all about? You're begging for your life. Why is there music over here? So he says over here, based on the Metzudas Dovid, the following idea. V'hispalel la'akadosh baruch hu shelo yashches es b'nei Yisrael b'yoisam b'golos. The thing that Klal Yisrael is davening for is that we should not be destroyed by the enemy while we are in the Golos, while we're in the exile. V'yesh lavim madua omar mizmor li'asav shir. And that's why we have to understand, why does it say in the beginning of this pasuk over here, that a song by Asaf with musical accompaniment. What's going on? You're begging for your life. You don't start playing music, you're begging for your life. So he says like this. Even though that Asaf is davening to Hashem that we should not be destroyed, what is the place in this Tehillim for song and for music? For a band, when you bring out the band, oh, Kodesh God, please save us. You don't bring out a band. You pour it out from the depths of your heart. What does it mean? There are times that prayer has a greater power and a greater impact when it's done with singing and music. In the same way that if you're just asking and you're pleading and you're begging to Hashem, sometimes the music and the singing is able to elevate your prayers to a place that they never got before. But that's why Asaf was davening through song and music. He held, if I'll have the right music and I'll have the right niggin and I'll have the right song that's going on over here, it'll cause that HaKadosh Baruch Hu lo yashchis es b'nei Yisrael, He will not destroy the Jewish people. The Vilna Gaon said that in the world of hierarchies of Ruchnius, music is one of the highest. And he said that it's only one level beneath the world of Nevuah, prophecy. And that's why the Rambam points out that in order for a prophet to be able to have Nevuah, to have prophecy, only Moshe Rabbeinu was able to get prophecy whenever he wanted, and whenever HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted to speak to him. Moshe Rabbeinu is awake, he gets prophecy. He's going down to sleep, he gets prophecy. He's trying to save Klal Yisrael, he gets prophecy. Hashem speaks to him. Every other prophet was not on that level. Every other prophet required a whole build-up and a whole getting ready and going through a process to be able to be worthy of receiving the nevuah, the prophetic word from Hashem. One of the things that they had to have was, there had to be music playing in the background. And it had to be mystical, heart-stirring tunes that they would play, because that would allow their neshama to transcend the physical world that they were in and go to a higher place. Says the Vilna Gaon, music is something that is one level below nevuah, prophecy, and if the song is the right song, so then that song brings your neshama to a place that on its own it would not be able to reach and achieve. And this is not our discussion today, what is going to be with all of the quote-unquote Jewish music of our generation. Rap is not going to bring your soul to the highest of places. Techno music and jumping up and down at every bar mitzvah and every chasana is not going to bring your soul to the highest of places, one level below prophecy. So what's going to be with the Jewish music scene, we have no idea, but that's not the music we're talking about. When Asaf brought in shir, he brought in songs, he brought in zmira, he brought in music and instruments and the like, it was lofty spiritual music that would lift up the soul to a different place. Says Ragamur Rabinovich is coming to teach us that sometimes the places that you can reach in your tefillah that comes through music and singing and song will take it to a whole different level. That's why when you come to shul on the Yomim Neroim, it's a bit of a discrepancy in different places. Some places hold that by the Yomim Neroim there should be no singing at all in the shul. It's such a serious day, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu is judging the world, and we have to get down to the core of who we are, so we have to be honest and sincere and not use music to kind of fool us into thinking that we're getting to a higher place. There's no music at all. And in the old times, it was very common that there would not be really any singing. There was a nusach, which means there's like a regular niggin, a song that revolves around the Yomim Neroim, but there weren't extra songs that were added. It was very just serious, focused davening. But there's another opinion, and that is the opinion that many of even the yeshivas today and the shuls abide by, and that is you have to sing. There are places that we need to expand and open up our neshamas to HaKadosh Baruch Hu to get inspired, those certain songs that give you the goosebumps, that help to arouse the tears from your eyes and put you in the mode of the Yomim Neroim of Rosh Hashana Yom Kippur. We need those songs. And therefore, in many shuls, this one for sure, and most across the world, and even the yeshivas that, again, in the olden days, yeshivas did not really sing so much. Even now they sing. Because, like we're saying, we understand that our tefillahs have power when they come through song. Song very often is a happy moment in a person's life. We sing because we're happy. When Klal Yisrael was going through the splitting of the sea, and they sang the Shir HaSayam, the song of the sea, they were happy. They saw the salvation from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. They were so many years in Mitzrayim. They were in such a dark, deep place, and Hashem took them out like that, and then He split the sea, and He killed all of our enemies, and He brought us to salvation. So we sang a song of shir, of happiness and joy. And the same thing is with our tefillah. Our tefillahs have to be with happiness and with joy. And even though that we know that on Rosh Hashana, we know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is sitting as the Melech Malchei Malachim, the King of all kings, and He's judging every single one of us. What's your year going to look like in Tav Shin Pei Hey in 5785? How's your health going to be? How's your parnasa going to be? How's your family going to be? How's your marriage going to be? How are your children going to be? How's your life going to be? Hashem is deciding everything. That's pretty serious. And if you look back on the previous year of your life, you'll find, Baruch Hashem, many brachas that you had, many happy things that you're very grateful to Hashem. But everybody will find in the previous year, there were things that we wished would have gone better and could have been better. And all that was decided last year on Rosh Hashana. Every single detail of your life. So on one hand, it's a very serious day, and it's a frightening day, and it's a worrisome day, because we don't know what's going to happen. I told Dovid this mice, I'm sure, more than once during this time of the year, but I was a bacher in Ner Yisrael. This goes back, must be like 26, 27 years ago. And the day after Rosh Hashana, Rav Kalevsky Zatzal, who was our Rabbi, he was one of the great, outstanding Talmidei Chachamim of America, if not the world. And at the end of his shir, his Gemara shir, he says, I have to tell you a ma'isa that happened in our yeshiva just on Rosh Hashana. And he said that there was a woman in the Ezras Nashim on Rosh Hashana who fainted in the middle of davening. She fainted. And so we had a doctor in the yeshiva, Dr. Jacobowitz. They ran to the men's side and they got Dr. Jacobowitz, and he came running, and Baruch Hashem, he was able to, with whatever he did, he brought her back. And they sat her up, and they calmed her down, and they brought her back too. And they asked this woman, why did you faint? And she said, as I'm standing here on Rosh Hashanah davening for the up and coming year, I started replaying in my mind everything that happened to me last year. And she said it was such a difficult year in my life. I realized that everything that happened was decreed last year, Rosh Hashana. And I got seized with fear and trepidation and worry that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is making another decision on what's going to be with my life. She said, I fainted from the fear. Rabbi Kalevsky was so impressed that there was such a woman in Klal Yisrael that was on such a sensitive level that she would actually feel the pachad adin, the fear of the judgment of Rosh Hashanah, that he decided he has to tell us the story that we should know. That is what is taking place on Rosh Hashanah. But with all of that, pachad, the fear, the anxiety, the worry, we don't know what's going to be for the upcoming year, at the same time, and this is one of the reasons that we sing, and we have happy songs that we sing on Rosh Hashanah. There's some marches and there's some upbeat tunes, and we're singing with a smile on our face, is because we're Baiteach B'Hashem. We trust in Hashem that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not going to let us down. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to give us all a good year. He's going to give us a lot of brach. He's going to give us a lot of simcha. He's going to give us a lot of health, a lot of money, a lot of wealth, a lot of Yeshua, salvation, whatever it is that we need in our life. Hashem has no lack of resources to give everybody the most gebenched, the most blessed year that is possible. And so we go into Rosh Hashanah. That's why it's brought down in halacha. A person would think, you're going to sit on the witness stand. We should be nervous. We should be trembling. We're not going to wear our nicest clothing. We're going to come to shul. Again, you're sitting on the defense stand. You're going to come to shul. You didn't get a chance to take care of yourself. You were too nervous. No. We get haircuts. We put on our Yom Tov clothing. We make sure that we come in looking good because we know that Hashem is on our side. And we trust in HaKadosh Baruch Hu to give us the best judgment possible for the up-and-coming year, Be'ez Hashem. So that's why we sing. And that's why some of the songs are exciting and they're uplifting. I remember many years ago I was davening by Rabbi Block for the Yom Noraim. I think it was one of my first real Yomim Noraim ever. And I didn't really know what to expect. And I remember after a very serious moment in Tefillah, suddenly they have this very pomp and circumstance song, and Rabbi Block is singing at the top of his lungs. I said, what is going on over here? This is the day of judgment. And then I realized it's a day of judgment. We're so happy because Hashem is our judge. And we believe in Hashem and we trust in Hashem that the salvation can come like that. And therefore, that's what he's saying over here. When you daven, a little niggin, a little song, it's not going to hurt, it's only going to help. And that's what we sing during davening the Yom Noraim, to put us into that place, into that mood, that we show our great faith in Hashem, that He's going to bring the best judgment of all. Yes?
Rabbi, what about if you're at home with a child? How do you sing and be happy? Because, you're by yourself and you have to take care of the baby. So what do you do in terms of Hashem, knowing that, how does He judge you based on not going to shul, let's say, on Rosh Hashanah?
You're a mother, right?
Yeah.
You have no mitzvah to come to shul. HaKadosh Baruch Hu blessed you with a child, and your mitzvah is to take care of your child. And if on Rosh Hashanah, HaKadosh Baruch Hu sees you taking care of your child in the most magnificent and amazing way, with chesed and compassion and warmth and kindness and patience, and you don't let him drive you crazy, and even when he is driving you crazy, you stay calm and relaxed, that's the greatest merit that you could have on Rosh Hashanah. Because more than anything, Hashem wants to see that our midas, our character traits, are emulating His traits. And all of the 13 attributes of mercy that we're going to say, we started today and we're going to continue through the end of Yom Kippur, all of those 13 attributes of mercy, Hashem wants to see, are you emulating those attributes in your life? Are you living a life of compassion, of patience, of overlooking the wrong that even your baby does to you, of being kind and loving and warm and all of those things? If Hashem sees that that is the way that you are behaving, Hashem says, wow, she's like me. And look at that. I gave her Tselem Elokim. I put godliness inside of her, and she's using her godliness for the right things. Look how she acts on Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Amazing. She deserves to have another year of life where she's going to continue to emulate me even more. So don't feel guilty for 1 second, even if you can barely daven the whole day. But when he's sleeping, you pick up the sitter and you start davening as fast as you can to make sure you can make it through as much of the davening as possible. But don't worry, you're in the right place. Everybody knows the famous story of Rabbi Salanter. He was once walking on the night of Kol Nidre, and he was walking to the streets of Salant, and he hears a baby crying. And he was wondering, where's that coming from? And he walks to a house, and he looks in the window, and he sees there's a baby in the crib all by itself, crying his head off. Wow. So he starts knocking on the door, so that it'll arouse the mother. Maybe she fell asleep, who knows, maybe she's not paying attention. There's no answer. He opens the door. He had no choice. It's pikuach nefesh to save the baby's life. He opens the door. He says, hello, hello, is anyone there? Is anyone there? No one's there. He looks around and he realizes what happened. The father and the children and the mother all went to shul for Kol Nidre. The baby was sleeping when they left, and she assumed the baby will sleep through Kol Nidre. So Rav Yisrael Salanter walks into the house. He was a man filled with compassion. He's the Rav of the entire town. He's the Gadol Hador. Every rabbi looks forward to being in shul for Kol Nidre. But Rav Yisrael Salanter would not leave a crying baby by himself. So he walked in, he picked up the baby, he missed Kol Nidre and Mariv in shul that night. And he took care of the baby, and he wouldn't leave until the mother came back. When the mother walked in, and she saw Rav Yisrael Salanter holding her baby, she was horrified. And he told her, Miss, your job is to be a mother, and you belong at home with the baby. And he put the baby back down, and he went and he davened whatever he had to daven afterwards. So don't feel bad. Rav Yisrael Salanter was willing to miss Kol Nidre and Mariv for the sake of not letting a baby cry. It wasn't even his baby. And he has more of an obligation to be in shul. So you have nothing to worry about. You're in the best place in the world if you're together with your baby. And that's exactly where HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants you to be. And the better you take care of him, and the more you're loving and caring and compassionate and patient, and you don't get upset, you don't get angry, you overlook whatever it is. He ruined your whole day. You couldn't daven barely 5 minutes. He was cranky, he was colic. I hope that he doesn't become that way. But whatever it is, and you stayed calm, you should know that's the biggest segula, that's the biggest treasure that you have for a new year and a good year.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Okay?
Sure, thank you.
Okay, so anyway, that is why we sing on the Yomim Neroyim. We're happy with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And we, as we'll see in this Tehillim over here, we're happy with what Hashem does to us. It's not always comfortable, not always easy, but we try to find the best. Says Rashi over here on the second pasuk, Haydina lecha Elokim. Haydina lecha means that I will be made to you, I will praise you, I will thank you, Hashem. We give thanks. Haydina lecha Elokim. We give thanks to you, Hashem. V'korav shemecha, your name is close to us. Sipru nifleisecha. We will tell over your niflois, we'll tell over your wonders. Says Rashi, Haydina lecha Elokim, we will give thanks to you, Hashem. Ala toiva haydino, on all of the good, we will thank you, Hashem. Af al hara, even on the bad, we will thank you, Hashem. V'kara b'finu shimcha tamid, and your name is always close to our lips. Your name, Hashem, thank you, Hashem. It's always on our lips. We're constantly thanking you. And that is really what we have to go in with our tremendous emunah into the Yomim Neroyim. And as we look around the world at large, but again, our own individual lives, everybody knows that there are things that were, Baruch Hashem, very good. And we can always be grateful for the good. Our problem is we're not usually grateful enough. Hashem does so much, and He gives us so much. He loads us up with blessing. We don't see. We just assume that that's what's going to be. We just assume it. We take it for granted. So one thing that we're saying over is, on the good, you got to thank Hashem. 1,000 times a day, you have to thank Hashem again and again and again and again. But even on that which is not good, a person has to thank Hashem. Because since that we trust in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we know that Hashem doesn't make any mistakes. Everything that HaKadosh Baruch Hu does is correct and right and exact. And therefore, even the things that to us might look like they are raw, that they are bad, HaKadosh Baruch Hu only brought us because it's what is best for us. And therefore, Karev befinu shimcha tamid, your name, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, is in our mouths constantly. Because it's not constantly always good, but it's not constantly always bad. But whatever is going on, we're saying, thank you, Hashem. There's a story that I'm sure that I told over the years, but it was a couple that was not blessed with children for a long, long, long time. And they tried everything. They went everywhere. They went to the doctors. They finally found out about the one last specialist in the world that has a chance to save them and give them children. And they put a lot of effort and a lot of energy into this, and they went for the consultation, and the doctor looked at all their files with all their treatments from the years gone by, and he looked through everything, and he gave them some more tests, and he said, you'll come back in a week and we'll see what the procedure, what we're going to do. And they come back a week later, and they are so excited. This is our last hope. It's like 15 years, no children, our last hope. And they sit down, and they can see the doctor's face doesn't look very smiling. And the doctor tells them, I went through all of your history. I went through all of the results from the new exams that you've taken. And he said, I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news. You'll never, ever have children. There's nothing I can do. Not a procedure, nothing. Not a medication, nothing. Not an IVF, nothing that I can do. I apologize. And they walked out of that office devastated beyond belief. They drive home in total silence. Total silence. The wife she's beside herself. The husband is broken. They come to their house, and the husband doesn't even want to be around the house because he's afraid his wife is going to break down uncontrollably. He looks at his watch. It's Mariv. He says, my dear, I'm going to go daven Mariv right now. I'll be back after Mariv. He goes to shul. He davens Mariv. He's dreading coming home. What's his wife going to be doing? How sad is she going to be? He's going to have to call in the therapist and everything. What's going to be? He dallies around after Mariv. He's like delaying and delaying and delaying. He finally comes home. He walks into the house. He looks at the dining room table, and he sees the dining room table is set elaborately. China, silver, there's candles. Candles are burning. He smells, there's food wafting from the kitchen. It smells delicious. He's looking around, what's going on over here? His wife walks out of the bedroom, she's wearing her Shabbos clothing. He says, oh my gosh, my wife went crazy. What is going on over here? And he says, is everything okay? And he says to his wife, everything is exactly the way it's supposed to be. She said, for the last 15 years of our life, I thought that my mission and my task and my job was to daven for children. And I spent hours and hours and hours between davening and going to the doctors. And remember, we went to Eretz Yisrael for that journey. We went to all the great tzaddikim. We got their blessings. We went to the graves of tzaddikim. We prayed our hearts out. For 15 years, I thought my mission was to become a mother in Klal Yisrael. And that's where I'm going to put all my energy. But today, HaKadosh Baruch Hu answered. He said, that's not your task. You have a different mission, you have a different goal, you have other things you have to accomplish the rest of your life. So we're making a Sudas Haidah, and we're thanking Hashem for what He didn't give us, because now He's showing us what we have to move forward for the rest of our lives. And the husband was in absolute shock. Now he needed a therapist. And he tells his wife, you're off the charts. You're Emunah, you're Bitachon. And he sits down and he goes along with it. And they sit there and they thank Hashem for this year, and they thank Hashem for that year, and they thank Hashem for this, and they thank Hashem for that. And they start planning, what are they going to do now the next 15 years of life? What they're going to do, how they're going to build, how they're going to grow. And it was the holiest meal that they ever had in their entire life. And 9 months later, they had a child. Wow. Because when you can be someone that is able to thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu for everything that he does, and not be angry, and not be upset, and not have tainas, not have complaints against Hashem, and recognize that everything that Hashem does, it's all His plan, it's all the good. As hard as it might be, Hashem loads you up, and He starts sending over the brachas. Says Rashi, on these words, Ala toiva idino, on the good HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we thank you. But then why does it say again? It says, Haidina lacha Elokim, we thank you Hashem. Haidina, we thank you. We just thanked you. What do we thank you again? I'm thanking you ala ra, even on the bad. V'karoi shemecha, and your name is always close to my lips. I'm always talking about you, Hashem. Sipru, nifleisecha, I'll tell over your wonders. Doreseinu nifleisecha tamid, the wonders of our generation constantly. Even, remember, we said in the introduction over here, this is the times that are leading right before Mashiach. And that means the birth pangs are getting very intense. And there's going to be lots of struggles that Klal Yisrael is going to be going through. There's going to be a lot of life and death, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of cloudy, murky waters that we are going to be in. Nevertheless, Sipur Dor, our generation will tell Niflei Secha, will tell over of the wonders and the miracles that you do tamid, constantly. Not just once in a while. Your chesed and your kindness and your miracles and your wonders are happening all of the time. Any soldier that has walked in the fields of Gaza will come back and tell you the only reason they survived is because of miracles. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, E.T. was with me. Even a soldier that Rahman got injured, and even badly, but they're alive, they will tell you it is a miracle that they are alive. Because Niflei Secha, His wonders are everywhere. The fact that the world has not exploded on Klal Yisrael in a massive way is nothing short of a miracle right now, because anything goes in this generation, anybody can get with anything, and nobody stops them. So, every generation, with whatever it is that we go through, with whatever struggles that we have, whatever challenges the individual, the families, the kehilas, and Klal Yisrael has to go through, we have to be those people that are always saying, Niflei Secha, your wonders, Hashem, your miracles, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, all the good, all the chesed, all the kindness. We can't get stuck in the negative. We have to stay in the positive. And this is where we have to be holding on almost the eve of Rosh Hashana. Don't get stuck in the negative things that took place this year. Don't get stuck in what we didn't have this year or the difficulties that we endured. Don't get stuck in that world. Look at the positive and look at the good and look at the chesed and believe in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and next year is going to be even better. And next year there's going to be more bracha. And next year Hashem is going to bring more simcha to Klal Yisrael. And next year, whatever it is that I was struggling with, Hashem's going to find a way to take away those struggles and bring a Yeshua, bring a salvation. That's the Rebbeinu Shalom. He's going to do His job. We have to do our job. And our job is to believe in HaKadosh Baruch Hu beyond the shadow of the doubt. Nothing is out of His control. Nothing is out of His hands. Nothing is beyond His abilities. Salvation, blessing, goodness, compassion, that's everything that Hashem wants to do for Klal Yisrael. So that's Rashi on these verses. Says the Malbim on these psukim over here. Anachnu maidim lecha Elokim ala teshua she'asisa lanu. We thank you for the salvation that you have brought to us. V'korav shemecha sibu nevosecha, and your name is close to our mouths. We'll tell over your wonders. V'tzalomar, what does that mean to say? Hagam shim nir hanhaga b'derech hateva nidme lanu sheshimcha rochek mizeh ha'olam. Even though that if I look at the nature of the world, and it appears that you have distanced yourself far from this world, and we don't see HaKadosh Baruch Hu's hand in everything that's going on, like in last week's Parsha. We just had, Hashem says, when you're going to misbehave, and you're not going to do what I want, Haster aster panei, I'm certainly going to conceal my face from you. You turned away from me, says Hashem, We're like a shadow, say Chazal. We're like a reflection. Whatever you're doing, I'm going to do. You're looking at me, I'm looking at you. You're waving at me, you're trying to embrace me, I'm going to embrace you. You're turning your face away from me, says Hashem. I'm going to turn my face away from you. Tzilcha al yad yeminecha. That's Dovid HaMelech says. Tzilcha, your shadow, al yad yeminecha, on your right hand. What's tzilcha? Chazal say, what is the shadow? The shadow always does whatever it is that the person who's making the shadow does. So whatever we do, Hashem is just going to be our shadow. If we're going towards Hashem, He's coming towards us. If we're moving away from Hashem, He's moving away from us. And therefore says the Malbim, although that it looks like, often in our lives, in this world, it looks like Sheshimcha Rachaik Mizeh Olam, that your name and your presence is distant and far from this world. Ki Yeduma Ki Sha'olam Ki Minhago Noyeg, it looks like the world is it's running itself. Like everybody else said, the world is running itself. It's going along. But if I'll take a good look at your niflei your wonders, I realize the wonders that you're doing, and that even within the laws of nature, you are shaded. You're dwelling over here. Then I see that your name is actually very close. You're actually watching over, and you are involved in this lowly world. V'shira Kosav, and the pasuk says, Nifleisecha sipru, kikarav shemecha niflei shelcha. Your wonders, heim yisapru. We will talk about. V'yoidiu lanu ki shimcha hu karav el b'yosecha. I'm sorry, the Mom say even more. The Mom say like this: Haniflei shelcha, the wonders that you bring to this world. Heim yisapru, they are the ones that will speak about who you are, Kodesh Baruch Hu. V'yoidiu lanu, they will let us know that you are here. Ki shemecha hu karav el b'yosecha, that your name, the name is always the essence of something. That means HaKadosh Baruch Hu's essence is close to His creations. V'sha'ata karav l'kol karecha, and anyone that calls upon you, you are close to. When we call, again, he's saying amazing idea. Every nifla, every wondrous thing that you see in your life, every amazing thing that you see in the world, every story that you hear about another miracle that took place for a person, how the hashgacha pratis, everything worked out exactly the way that it should be. So this person would have this in their life. When you hear that, that itself is expressing and extolling the wonders of HaKadosh Baruch Hu and the praise of Hashem. That's to be mechazik our emunah, to make us realize that anyone that calls out to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the emes in truth, and tries to get close to Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is right there. It is no coincidence that the main thing that we are going to be doing on the day of Rosh Hashana, unless of course you're home with your child, but the main thing that many of us will be doing on Rosh Hashana is we're calling out to Hashem. We're praying hour after hour after hour after hour. And that's what it says. Sha'ata karev lekol karecha. You are close to anyone that calls out to you. So as you're going through, from Shachris, through the end of Musaf, don't be from those people that keep looking through the pages to figure out how much longer Musaf is going to be. Don't do that. Realize that every page, every word is another opportunity to call out to Hashem. And the more that you call out to Hashem, the closer He's going to be to you. And when He's judging you on Rosh Hashana, you want to be as close as possible. Because those that are closer to Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, that's what life is all about. Life is about getting close to me. And here's a person on Rosh Hashana, they're trying, and they're davening, and they're working, and they're singing, and they're dancing, and they understand. That's a person who's close to me. So Niflei Secha, I'll bring them wonders, I'll bring them Yeshuas, I'll bring them salvations, I'll bring them brachas, I'll bring them everything that they could possibly want. Yes?
So I'm one of the people who's guilty of thumbing through this.
Everybody is.
But in my defense, I mean, I know Hebrew okay. I mean, I can read it, but when it comes to prayers that I only say once a year. You know, I mean, like Shmona Esrei, I mean, that's no problem. I do that 3 times, well, 2 times a day, whatever. But, you know, when it comes to, you know, Rosh Hashana, like, you know, I sort of look like, you know, oi, you know, like how much more stuff that I don't know that I'm going to have my trouble getting my teeth right, you know, I'm going to have to do. But I feel weird praying in English, you know, but like sometimes I get like if everybody's finished this Shmona Esrei already and I'm like not even in the middle of it, you know, it's just like, I'll just do the rest in English, like I can, you know, so. I mean, yeah, I mean, I suppose the answer is, well, you know, yeah, you know, do pray in English if that's easier for you, but, like, how do you get more meaning out of it? You know?
The easiest way to get more meaning out of the davening is to prepare in advance. And if you start looking today through the machzor, and you start getting familiar with the words, then it's not that once a year activity that you're involved in where you suddenly see all these words that you didn't see already for 1 full year and you're trying to get back into it. Many people, it takes them already till the 2nd day of Rosh Hashana that, okay, now I know the words, I'm familiar with what's going on over here, I understand the messages, now let me get into it. But if you would spend Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever time you can make for yourself, to sit down with the machzor and start looking through what is being said and what the words are and the main prayers that are there, you'll open up the machzor on either Wednesday night or Thursday morning for the first time, and you'll feel more connected to the words that are there. And it also helps to have a machzor with a very good translation. You know, the Art Scroll Baruch Hashem is very good. There are other ones that also have, like the Mitsuda, where it has half the page is Hebrew, the other half page is English. It's something that's easier for the eyes to go through in that way. There's another one that's called the Pathway to Prayer, which is like a supplement that comes along with it, and that has like a few words, and then also has like an English translation right next to it, so it's easier to go through. The more that you could be aware of what you're saying, then I think you'll feel more connected to the prayers. It's very hard when Hebrew is not your first language, and even though you've been davening for years, it's still hard to understand exactly what you're saying. And the Yom Neroim is even more difficult because it's a whole year since you saw it before. So you have to do whatever you can to make it easier to understand starting before and on the spot as well to understand what is going on. And if you turn the page a few times, it's understood. It's natural. And if you get frustrated because it's taking a long time and it's hard to say all the words, that's also understood. Try not to be too hard on yourself. Kodesh Baruch Hu doesn't want us to be hard on us. He wants us to be able to appreciate what He's given us on Rosh Hashana. Okay. Just a little bit more over here. Actually, no, I think we'll stop here. And we'll continue, as Hashem, next week in the words over here of Tehillim. We'll see if we could, next week again is going to be Tzom Gedalia. It's going to be a fast day. So you have nothing else to do. You can't eat, you can't have a brunch, so you might as well come here, we'll learn. It'll be after Rosh Hashana. So I'll see you all next year, Be'ez Hashem. And Hashem should give you a lot of kayach in your davening, in the ability to understand, and really in the emunah that we need to have that whatever happened last year, it's over. Once Wednesday night hits, and it's tough shin pei hey, last year is finished. It's a new year. New year brings new brachas, it brings new hope, it brings new opportunities, it brings new chesed and rachamim Hashem. So whatever we didn't get last year, or we did get last year that we weren't so excited about, is done. It's a new year. And we have to look forward, and we have to be hopeful, and we have to trust in Hashem, that Be'ez Hashem, with all of our tefillahs, as the Malbim is saying over here, whoever calls out to Hashem, automatically you're close. So spend as much time as you can on Rosh Hashanah calling out to Hashem. Even if you have a baby in one arm and the machzor in the other arm, try to call out to Hashem. And Be'ez Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will hear our tefillahs and will grant everybody Aksiva Chasima Taiva, should be signed and sealed in the book of life for a good and a sweet year.
Amen.
Yes.
I listened to your drasha in Calabasas.
Yes.
The story that I used because it made such an impression about